when we ask for signs, or we think we see a sign, or we think we experience a sign, I really think it's a matter of making the decision to trust it. Because when we trust it, we get more. As spirits and as souls, we have free will.
Hi everyone, welcome to Go All In Show. I'm your host named Stant, and today we are super excited to welcome our special guest here. Carrie Pitzulo is the expert from the leading expert from Playboy magazine to Ancient Magic Model Living founder. Carrie, thank you so much for being here with us, and I'm super excited to have our conversation here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited too.
Perfect, Carrie. So tell us a little bit about ancient magic model living, what it is exactly.
Well, I think that this is an idea that really encompasses my whole approach to spiritual self-empowerment for women. What I do is guide women to reconnect with themselves through energetic and intuitive development, creating a stronger connection both to themselves, to the people around them, and to the world that they're living in. But this is really an ancient concept, right? This is how all of humanity used to live before the modern development of industrialization and technology and communication and things like that. I think that connection both to ourselves on an intuitive and energetic level, and connection to the earth and to nature and to our environment, is a really inherent and birthright human experience, but it's something that we've lost track of. And so I think that getting back to really this ancient kind of connection is important, both to our own personal wellness, but to the wellness of the planet itself. But of course, we don't live in ancient times. We do live in this industrialized world, and we have busy schedules and busy family lives. So that's where the modern living part comes into it. It's taking these ancient tools and ancient magic and translating it into a really grounded, relatable, modern idea.
I love it. So what brought you into, the aha moment of living ancient magic, but in the modern time like this? What's your backstory?
My backstory, it's pretty roundabout. In one sense, this idea of connecting with energy and magic and mystery has always been with me since I was a kid. I was always interested in things like ghosts and paranormal and magical kinds of experiences like that. And I had a lot of experiences throughout my life, but I thought that it was just sort of a quirk of my personality. It was sort of just an interest that I had. But as I became an adult, there were various points in my life when I connected in a deeper way to what I think is the mysterious, sort of magical aspects of life in the world. For instance, when I was in college, oh gosh, this was 25, 30 years ago now, I took a course on feminist theology. And that was my first introduction to goddess spirituality. And it really, really resonated for me. But when the semester was over, I kind of forgot about it and left it behind. But there were various times when I felt this kind of pull towards an earth-centered spirituality. And I really began to feel like I needed a spiritual path and something sort of official to pursue outside of mainstream religion. So I spent years sort of dabbling here and there. I tried Hindu chanting for a time. I, for a brief time, attended Quaker meetings. And nothing, there was beauty in all of this, but nothing was particularly resonating for me.
Right.
And it never occurred to me that my interest in what I always thought of as paranormal or supernatural kinds of phenomena could actually lead me to a formal spiritual path.
Mm-hmm.
And then, unfortunately, an old friend from college passed away. And a lot of people, she was and remains a very, very strong energy and spirit. And a lot of people around her began to experience communication from her, as well as me. And I realized that if I was open to this idea that there is no death,
right,
that we live on, that we can continue these relationships with people on the other side, that actually said a lot about my spiritual beliefs and my spiritual path.
uh-huh.
And eventually, my best friend and soul sister had been talking to me about witchcraft as a spiritual path and reminding me of goddess spirituality, right, that I had first connected to back in college. And I literally one day just Googled witchcraft and Wicca. And I realized it all came together.
Right.
It was me. The earth-based spirituality, aligning your energy and your spiritual practice with the changing seasons, the cycles of the moon, tapping into your intuition as a source of power. All of these things came together under these umbrella terms like witchcraft and paganism. And I saw myself. And it was in one day, in about 30 or 60 minutes of Googling, that I realized I have a path, there's a name for it, and that's me. And from then on, my life completely changed. And within a few years, I had decided that I wanted to change my career and focus on my spirituality full time, both personally and professionally.
Wow, that's quite a great story and the journey, such a life journey. Yeah.
Yes.
So Carrie, for those of our audience who never heard about spiritual path or energy, um, I want to ask you this, like how can you, meaning audience for us, like how can they connect with themselves, with the true self when the time is super hard right now, is a difficult time. The COVID hit last year, but before that, it's been through, and a lot of women who are listening right now been through so many crises in their life. But how can we use that power, like connect to our true self in the simple way?
Right. It's such a good question, but it is very simple but very powerful. I'm using words like paganism and witchcraft, and that's going to sound weird to a lot of people. But really, at the core of all of this is connecting to yourself and the power and wisdom that already lives within you. And I think the most powerful and the simplest way of doing that is connecting to your intuition. We all have intuition, and you don't have to be on a particular spiritual path or of a particular spiritual perspective to do this. There are scientific and psychological studies about intuition to show that it's real, and that people even use it outside of spiritual contexts, such as in corporate America and things like that. And the simplest way to do this is to simply accept that it's real and give yourself permission to believe in it. I think those are two very powerful steps you can take to start to connect with your intuition. And that's just making a decision. And then what I teach is that you only need a moment, you only need a minute to slow down and quiet yourself and go within. Your intuition is already there. This is not the gift of a lucky few. This is a part of our human experience. So if you
creation, right?
Absolutely. If you take 1 minute and just slow down and quiet your mind and ask for guidance, and then stop to listen or to feel or to notice what flashes through your mind, whether it's visually or auditorily, and then trust it.
Hmm.
Can we ask for it? Can we ask the universe, God, or whoever we believe to? Like, can we ask to show us the sign?
Absolutely. I think once you connect to your intuition, you can interpret the source or the origin of that voice and that wisdom in any way that makes sense for you. So you can imagine it as your higher self or your higher consciousness or your soul. If it makes sense to you that the guidance you're receiving is your guardian angel or your spirit guide, I think that you're right. If you think that you are connecting with God or the divine, and that's the origin of the wisdom you're receiving, I think you're right. I think that whatever resonates for you is the truth, because it's all of it.
Carrie, in my life journey right now, I believe, and I agree with what you said, because I've been practicing for a long time too. I start to distinguish between, is this the source voice, the guidance, or is my voice, right?
Yes.
But for those who haven't practicing, because again, this is like the muscle, right? That we need to like practicing and put attention into it, small step each day, right? A moment each day. But for those, I remember when I first practicing this, I'm just like, okay, how can I know that this is not what in my head, that I'm trying to force it to be the answer, right? How can we know about it?
It's such a good question. And I think it's something that everybody struggles with, especially in the beginning when they're trying to develop their intuition. So that's the first thing to know, that just because you're wondering or doubting or questioning doesn't mean you're not intuitive, right? It doesn't mean it's not working for you. So understand that you're probably going to have doubts. And I think even very experienced intuitives and people who have been practicing for a long time still question at least sometimes, and that's fine. So don't let that hold you back. But there are a few things that it's almost like my little checklist that you can keep in mind when you're asking for intuitive guidance. One of the points that I would make about that voice, and distinguishing, is it the voice of my intuition or my guides or God, or is it my anxiety? Is it my ego? Is it my conscious mind? Your guides or your soul or divine source is going to leave you feeling calm, supported, and empowered.
Okay, so say again, calm, and then what's
Calm,
supported and empowered.
If you are left feeling anxious or nervous
Or confused
or tense, that's probably your ego or your anxiety talking
right?
to you.
This is very fun. Uh-huh.
Another thing that you can keep in mind is that your intuition often responds quicker than your conscious mind responds. So if you're connecting, whether it's in that 30 or 60 seconds, as you're making breakfast in the morning, or you're in formal meditation, if you're connecting and asking for intuitive guidance, and you get a flash in your mind of something, or you get a quick answer or response, the first impression is probably your intuition, because it takes a moment for your conscious mind to then get into gear and respond and start analyzing and start questioning and start saying, yeah, but what about this other thing? So pay attention to that first response or that first flash that you get.
Wow.
I love that. I learn a lot, Carrie. So here's my story. I on Friday night, this is like a couple weeks ago, I asked the source, like, show me the sign, and the next day, and this is before I go to bed, and then the next morning on Saturday, all day I'm gonna look for your answer, for your guidance. I already make that clear what I asked for and when I want to see it, right? When I wanted to come. And on Saturday, I was like, I went hiking with my girlfriend and, you know, having a good time, but I'm still like, okay, aware of the answer that I asked for, the guidance, basically. I drove the car back to the house, and on the freeway, I saw the sign of the road say Power Road Exit. Like the name of the road is Power, you know. And I was like, okay, I probably making it up, you know, like yeah, I probably making it up. Name, okay, you try to just make it up. And then I keep driving again and I saw the sign, Power Road Exit, you know, like there's two times, right? And then I said, okay, maybe I should accept and listen, you know, be aware. And then I went home and then myself asked myself, like the other part of myself, you know, asking me, how do you feel if you do this? Right? And then the other part of me said, I'm very excited if I'm doing it. So I'm like two people in my same body, you know, and then start to have a conversation. And I said, I'm very excited if I'm doing it. And then the person that asked said, okay, then you fine.
Right. Yeah. I think that so much of this is about, well, first of all, accepting those sides of ourselves. Allowing both, right? Allowing our analytical, rational mind, right? We need that. Yeah. It's important. Yeah. But then also opening up to and allowing that intuitive self, right? And they both work together and they both support us. When we ask for signs, or we think we see a sign, or we think we experience a sign, I really think it's a matter of making the decision to trust it. Because when we trust it, we get more, right? We all have free will. As spirits and as souls, we have free will. And so the universe is going to respond to us based on our cues and the cues that we give it, right? Yeah. The cues that we give the universe. So if we say, I would like a sign, and then you get your sign, yeah, right? And many of us say, wait, is this just a coincidence, right? And that's fine. But to say, you know what, I'm going to take this as the sign I was asking for, or maybe I didn't, it just appeared for me, that is signaling to the universe that you are in conversation with it. Yeah. And then it's going to respond and give you more. So like you said, this is a muscle, right? Both the intuition and the relationship, that connection, that energetic and intuitive connection, it is a muscle. And the more you work it, the more you give yourself permission to believe it and trust it, the more you will open up and receive.
See, it doesn't matter, you know, like 2021, what year we're living right now is the modern living, but it's timeless, right? The magic is not just for ancient time. It's in here, is continue to have.
Right. And I really believe that given the state of the planet, the first thing that needs to be done for us to truly try and turn this around and literally save human civilization from environmental collapse, if there's still time to do that, I do believe the first thing we have to do is get back to some of that ancient connection, both with ourselves and in relationship to the world. Because all of the technological solutions or economic solutions that we want to imagine are going to save the environment aren't going to get us very far if we don't shift this relationship and get back to a sense of connection with ourselves, with each other, and with the planet.
Is another level of how we living though, you know, because get up in the morning, turn on the TV, watch the news, and go for a coffee, and then eat some pancake, and, you know, continue to work, and 5 o'clock in the evening, come back home, cook dinner, and then go to bed, watching TV, and then go to bed. So it's like a pattern, right? But to live consciously, and really connect to our true self is really another level of practice. It doesn't mean that it's impossible. It is available for everyone.
It absolutely is available to everyone. And it's a spectrum, right?
Yeah.
There are so many different ways that you can do this. I think for a lot of people, when they imagine spiritual development, they think that they have to meditate for an hour every day.
Or sit at the mountain, on the top of the mountain, or listen to the sound of the ocean.
Exactly. That they have to join a spiritual community and renounce all material possessions or whatever it is, right? And those are all options, right? But most of us aren't going to be able to accomplish that.
Make it simple.
Yeah, we can take 5 minutes every day. We can take 1 minute 5 times a day.
Right.
Right. One of the things that I teach is about bringing ritual into your life. And that can be something really formal, like creating personal rituals around major life transitions.
Right.
But it can also be ritualizing your cup of coffee in the morning. Just taking a moment to connect and slow down and think about what you're grateful for in that moment, or your intention for the day, or whatever it is. Taking a moment to take some slow, deep breaths. If you do that once or twice or 3 times a day for just a minute or two, things are going to start to shift and you begin to open up space for more.
Yep, you live with a conscious mind. I love this. Are there any exciting new project that you're working on right now, Carrie?
Well, I am in the process of developing online courses, and particularly I'm really excited about opening up a membership site. That's in the works. I'm going to be creating a wait list for that soon, but that's sort of in the very early stages. But I'm super excited about it because I think it's going to be a really creative and fluid community in a really accessible way for people to learn how to develop their intuition, how to create rituals in their own life.
I love
and
it.
Various ways of connecting with themselves.
So how can people find you? How can our audience find you, Carrie?
I am at ancientmagicmodernliving.com.
Okay.
And on Facebook and Instagram, both at Ancient Magic Modern Living.
Okay. So if they search the word Ancient Magic Modern Living, they'll find you.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, guys, let's go. Let's join Carrie with Ancient Magic Model Living and change your life, live better, and live your life with the true potential every day. Thank you so much, Carrie, for being here with us. And I hope to invite you to come back again for our show next time. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you so much.